morning in Kent was suddenly shattered by the sound of a police force pounding on the door. Behind the old gray brick wall, no one knew that there was one of the biggest drug distribution networks in the southeast of England. The raid opened the door to a sophisticated criminal labyrinth, where there were no backstabbings but where silence was bought with cash and power was exercised through fear. Seemingly harmless streets were turned into underground maps, where every house, every car, every phone call had its own unique code. But behind that seemingly single operation, there was a system that had been running smoothly for months without anyone noticing. One small mistake, a poorly hidden package, or a wary look from the police, all it took was one crack and the whole thing could fall like a domino effect. And this time, it had begun. If you love mystery and dramatic crime stories, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of the next crime-solving journeys. Names like Joshua Exall, Joe Stokes, Ben King, and Luke Douglas do not conjure images of gangsters or cold-blooded assassins straight out of a Hollywood movie. There are no flashy tattoos, flashy cars, or loud nightclubs. They live quietly in the leafy streets of Dartford, wear cheap coats, drink coffee at the local cafe, and smile at their neighbors every morning. But behind the normality lies a machine oiled by profits and run with cold, terrifying precision. Joshua is the hub, a man of few words, but who controls the flow of goods from source to distribution. Joe Stokes is the peripheral link, constantly on the move, transporting and relaying goods to discrete delivery points. Ben King, older, more experienced, handles weapons and cash, always standing back, but available when the situation calls for trust. And Luke Douglas, a temporary replacement who quickly became a key cog, was proof that the system worked not on impulse but on a predetermined structure. They didn't need headquarters or offices. Every apartment, every empty warehouse, even the cars parked on the sidewalk for a long time were part of the network. From a seemingly sleepy street, a multi-100,000-pound drug empire had taken root, spread, and operated silently as the night, until a small mistake rocked it all. No daggers in the back, no gunshots in the night, no bloody revenges like the criminal world. It all starts out much simpler. It's a choice, a quiet detour from everyday life, where men who have been working as manual laborers or have been unemployed for years decide to take a path that they think will get them there faster. The path of cash, of untaxed pounds, of a more breathable life in an increasingly expensive society. The motive is no mystery, profit. No education, no investment, no long-term planning. Just a text message with the right code, a timely delivery of a package, and a steady share. But that ease is the sweetest trap of all, because once they're in, they have no control. Their supposed partners are actually cogs in an unnamed force, and any resistance or retreat is seen as a threat. With every shipment, they not only risk arrest, but also risk their freedom and personal safety to stay in the game. They're not fighting for territory or prestige, they're racing for survival, and to win, they choose to cut corners. But what they don't expect is that the game is never fair. And when the wheels of justice start rolling, no one can get out of the way without being crushed. In September 2023, on a road through Maidstone, an old hatchback pulled up to the side of the road under the watchful eyes of a police patrol. It was supposed to be a random check, part of a routine traffic check. But as Lacey Lynch opened the boot, things took a turn for the worse. Underneath the dusty fabric was a professionally wrapped bag of dried cannabis, along with 30 grams of pure cocaine and more than 3,000 pounds in cash, tightly rolled up in a black plastic bag. It wasn't just the quantity that caught the officer's attention, it was the way it was packaged, hidden, and the panic that Lacey tried to hide behind her calm demeanor. She didn't say much, but her phone did. Inside, the call logs, encrypted messages, and strange notes led straight to another name, Joe Stokes. Lacey's boyfriend, Joe, was a low-key guy on the street. He was a delivery guy, kept a low profile, and drove an old clean car. But surveillance cameras and a database of cell phone signals showed that his car had been making unusual appearances at locations previously known to be drug dealers. In November, Stokes was pulled over. Police took a closer look and found nearly 100 grams of cocaine hidden under the back floorboard, bagged, vacuum sealed, and labeled with a barcode, not the kind of stuff a junkie might pack. The investigation was no longer a suspicion, but a full-fledged case. Using cell phone data and GPS, police began to map Stokes's movements, cross-referencing them with Lacey's and a few others, including Luke Douglas, who had been flagged in a drug-related car theft, and Joshua Exall, the owner of an apartment building who had been tracked for unusual traffic. The intersections between suspects gradually emerged like a spiderweb. The delivery points appeared repeatedly in a discrete cycle. Each stop was no longer than 10 minutes. The recipient only stepped out when the car stopped exactly at the prearranged spot. Packages were handed over, cash hidden in seat cushions or ordinary bags. All communications were made via end-to-end encrypted messaging apps and never used a fixed personal number. Even broken up, each small action, when put together, formed an operating model not unlike a closed logistics chain, where no one knew the whole plan and only one person knew the whole picture. But with each new piece of evidence, each tracked car, each deciphered text message, the police knew they were gradually peeling away that perfect disguise. And they also knew, behind the name Joshua Exall, there were still layers that had not yet been revealed. The investigation into Lacey Lynch's initial encounter quickly morphed from a criminal investigation into a multi-layered tracking operation. From the initial evidence, Kent police moved beyond drug seizures and single arrests to form a multi-agency task force that combined digital data analysis, mobile surveillance, and real-time physical surveillance. What they saw was no longer a small-time operation, but a system that ran as smoothly as an underground enterprise, where every call, every delivery location, and every anonymous phone number was meticulously calculated. Investigators began by reconstructing Joe Stokes's movements. His car had been tracked repeatedly to industrial estates, suburban gas stations, and short-term rentals around Dartford. Public cameras at these locations were scrutinized. Every timestamp, every dash cam image from a passing truck, every unexplained stop, all were pieced together to create a detailed diagram of the operation. The phone signals from the devices of Joe, Lacey, and individuals involved like Luke Douglas and Joshua Exall were extracted and compared. Calls lasting less than 10 seconds, text messages with only symbols, even Wi-Fi on and off at specific locations, all were clues. Technical analysts discovered a recurring pattern. Every Tuesday and Friday night, the devices in the group would appear in the same area for a 30-minute period, then scatter in different directions. A perfect loop suggested a fixed distribution schedule. Data from carriers and anonymous messaging apps reinforced suspicions that the group was using a temporary encryption system used only once and then discarded. Meanwhile, underground surveillance units began to be installed. A Greenhithe apartment block that served as a transit hub was monitored for 3 weeks. Officers disguised as delivery men, plumbers, new residents, silently recording everyone who came and went. No stranger stayed longer than 10 minutes. No one spoke. But each time they left, they walked hastily, their bags bulging, and their expressions were as tense as if they had touched an electrical wire. Meanwhile, Joshua Exall emerged as the central figure. His apartment had a self-installed camera system, a smart doorbell, and a double lock that took the police several minutes to break during a later raid. He didn't deal directly with them, but he was in the communications records of all the other links. That made him the key. And if the police wanted to break the entire network, they needed a window big enough to strike once, catch everyone, and leave no one behind. And that moment was getting closer than ever. From the pieces that gradually emerged through data, surveillance, and field observations, police were able to piece together the structure of a surprisingly sophisticated criminal network. Not a gang operating spontaneously or haphazardly, but a clearly defined hierarchy that operated almost like a shadow business model, with specific roles, strict hierarchies, and highly encrypted lines of communication. At the center was Joshua Exall, a man who never directly traded or shipped, but who controlled every node. He controlled the warehouse, distributed the goods, and kept in touch with all the links through separate channels, always through a new device, never revealing his personal number. Below him was Luke Douglas, a middleman who handled distribution, picking up goods from the warehouse and shipping them to secondary transit points. Joe Stokes was the outsider, transporting goods and money, constantly moving to confuse surveillance. Ben King, the older and less visible, is the one who holds the gun and handles unusual situations, ensuring that the group is not hampered by the element of surprise. Characters like Ella Francis, Bobby Nash, and Charlie Vine are just the edge, handling the storage, providing apartments, driving shifts, and handling cash at the end of the chain. They don't know who they're serving, only that they're on time, on point. This information siloing keeps the entire system operating in absolute darkness, until the little gears start to squeal and the whole thing goes out of whack. After months of quiet investigation, the moment finally came. In July 2024, Kent police launched a massive operation, starting with the arrest of Luke Douglas in Greenhithe as he was traveling between two transit points. Soon after, Joshua Exall, identified as the central coordinator of the entire network, was also arrested in a carefully planned raid.
Police, open the door! Get out!
When police raided his flat, they found a stash of Class A and B drugs worth more than 440,000 pounds, 3 loaded handguns, and tens of thousands of pounds in cash. The flat was a veritable command center, complete with hidden security cameras, multiple magnetic locks, and temporary encrypted communications devices. Following leads, the police went on to arrest 4 more individuals: Adam Terrell, Ella Francis, Bobby Nash, and Charlie Vine.
Open the door now! Give us your hands! Give us your hands! Give us your hands! Give us your hands!
Hey, you're under arrest.
Give us your hands!
Mate, at this moment in time, you're under arrest for being concerned supply of Class A drugs. Do understand if you don't make harm and offensive? Do mention my questions? I'm mentioning I try and court. If you do say maybe you can never give evidence.
Get on the floor! Get on the floor! Don't move!
Each played a small but vital role in the machine: warehouseman, driver, cashier. Ben King, 60, was the final piece of the puzzle after his DNA was found on a weapon at Exall's home. When he was arrested, King was carrying 3 blocks of cocaine, half a block of heroin, cash, and 2 electrocution devices, clear signs of his security and risk management duties within the system. All were convicted at Woolwich Crown Court. Joshua Exall was jailed for 11 years, Ben King for 10 years and 6 months, Luke Douglas for 6 years and 10 months, Joe Stokes for 6 years and 4 months, Ella Francis for 2 years and 10 months, and Bobby Nash for 2 years and 6 months. Lacey Lynch, Adam Terrell, and Charlie Vine were given suspended sentences. Police claim the operation dismantled an organized crime network, seized a large quantity of drugs and weapons, and prevented thousands of doses of illegal substances from reaching the streets. The case is closed, but its aftershocks are still felt in the communities it once infiltrated. As the courtroom doors close, the Dartford case is about more than harsh sentences. Behind each number are stories of brokenness, a community scarred by the insidious spread of drugs, families torn apart, and a sense of security once shaken. The drug dealers have been brought to justice, but the burning question remains: how many other networks are still operating in the shadows, waiting for a slip to reveal themselves? Justice has been served, but the cost has been high, and the warning has never been clearer. Criminals don't always appear with a grim face. They could be sitting next to you in a coffee shop, living in the same neighborhood. Be alert, be vigilant, and have the courage to speak up when things are unusual around you. And if you want to continue following the journey of revealing secrets, exposing the darkness, and bringing the truth to light, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to join me in the next cases.